Fight the dead, fear the living. Few lines in television history are as instantly recognizable or as accurate as those words. They aren't just a tagline, they're the thesis statement for one of the biggest cultural phenomena television has ever produced, The Walking Dead. By the cold, objective numbers, The Walking Dead stands among the greatest shows of all time. Based on Robert Kirkman's graphic novel series, it ran for 12 years, 11 seasons, and 177 episodes. It was watched by hundreds of millions of people across cable, streaming, and home media. It pioneered the modern post-show discussion format, spawned 6 spin-offs, multiple video games, toy lines, novels, and became a cornerstone of AMC's identity. What started as a modest cable drama about survival in a zombie apocalypse became a worldwide phenomenon, one that reshaped horror television, influenced prestige storytelling, and permanently altered how audiences connected with long-form characters. And now, with enough distance from its finale, I think we can finally say it without hesitation. The Walking Dead deserves to be recognized as one of the greatest television series ever made. One of Walking Dead's greatest strengths was that nothing and no one remained static. The world deteriorated relentlessly, civilization collapsed, safety became an illusion, and as everyone grew harsher, the characters adapted, or they died. Rick Grimes didn't begin as a hardened warlord. Carol didn't start as a survivor. Daryl wasn't a leader. These people evolved because they had to. Their morality shifted. Their limits were tested. Their resourcefulness increased as hopes diminished. The brilliance of The Walking Dead was that character growth wasn't treated like a straight line upward. People regressed. They broke. They made decisions they could never take back. Survival wasn't heroic. It was costly. That constant evolution kept the cast from ever growing stale. Just when you thought you understood who someone was, the world forced them to become something else. Some of The Walking Dead's most iconic figures weren't even supposed to exist for long. Daryl Dixon wasn't in the comics at all. He was created for the show and quickly became its beating heart. Norman Reedus' performance resonated so strongly that Daryl evolved from a volatile outsider into the show's moral compass, its lone wolf, and eventually its spiritual successor to Rick. Carol's survival is even more remarkable. Early on, she was meant to die. She was quiet, abused, fragile, seemingly unequipped for this world. Instead, she transformed into one of the most complex characters in television history, a survivor shaped by grief, guilt, and ruthless pragmatism. These weren't accidents. They were examples of a show willing to listen to its actors, to its audience, and to the story as it naturally evolved. If you've made it this far and are enjoying what you've seen and heard, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Every great story needs great villains, and The Walking Dead delivered some of the most memorable antagonists television has ever produced. The governor wasn't just evil, he was charming, calculating, and terrifyingly human. Negan redefined what a TV villain could be: grotesque, charismatic, cruel, and impossible to ignore. The Whisperers took horror to an almost primal level, blurring the line between monster and man. What made these villains effective wasn't just their brutality, it was that they represented warped reflections of survival. They weren't anomalies, they were what happens when power, fear, and desperation go unchecked. Each antagonist forced these heroes to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves and about the cost of staying alive. When characters died on The Walking Dead, it hurt. You felt it in your chest. Sometimes it was grief, sometimes rage, and sometimes, especially with the villains, it was a dark, unsettling sense of relief. But no death was meaningless. This wasn't shock for shock's sake. The Walking Dead arrived before the industry fully adopted the idea of killing characters just a trend on social media. Like Game of Thrones, it understood restraint. It built relationships first, then tore them away. That emotional investment is why those losses still resonate years later. Unfortunately, shows like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones unintentionally created a trend. What major character will die this week? Death became expected. predictable, less impactful. And now, when shows like Stranger Things reach their 5th season with relatively low body counts, some viewers feel cheated, as if emotional stakes only exist when characters die. That's not The Walking Dead's fault, but it's a testament to how powerfully it shaped audience expectations. One of the greatest luxuries The Walking Dead had, something nearly extinct today, was time. Yes, some arcs stretched a little too long. Some seasons moved slower than fans wanted, but nothing felt rushed. The show didn't rely on constant explosions or cliffhangers to maintain interest. Between the chaos, we were allowed to sit with characters, to watch them talk, argue, grieve, heal, break again. Even the villains weren't caricatures. They were case studies, examples of how trauma and power can twist humanity into something unrecognizable. This is what television does best when it's allowed to breathe. By the final 3 seasons, it's fair to say The Walking Dead lost momentum. Frequent showrunner changes, creative shifts, deviation from the source material, and loss of its central protagonist, and the son meant to inherit that role, took a toll. The show was still good, but it wasn't the unstoppable force it once was. And yet, the franchise proved it still had life. The Ones Who Lived and Daryl Dixon were critically praised and well received, reminding audiences that the soul of The Walking Dead was never gone. In the end, the walkers were never the point. Yes, zombies were popular when the show debuted. Yes, they were terrifying, but they were the backdrop, not the story. The real hook was the characters, the relationships, the emotional weight, the world building, the stakes. A great premise means nothing without execution. The Walking Dead executed its vision again and again. Friends and Seinfeld weren't historic because of their settings. They were about people hanging out in New York doing nothing, and yet they're immortal. The Sopranos could have been dismissed as just another mafia show. Instead, it became legendary because of its characters, performances, and unforgettable moments. The Walking Dead belongs in that company. The Walking Dead wasn't the first zombie story, but it became the definitive one. It ignited the zombie craze of the 2000s and 2010s, inspiring countless copycats across film, television, and games. Many tried. Few came close. Even modern hits like The Last of Us, as exceptional as they are, walk the road The Walking Dead paved. In today's landscape, where prestige television lives almost exclusively on streaming platforms, seasons are capped at 8 episodes. The production cycle stretches beyond 2 years. We may never get another show like The Walking Dead. Zombies might feel passé in 2026, but go back and watch the series again. It still holds up. Time is the true test of greatness, and by that measure, The Walking Dead has earned its place in television history. Fight the dead, fear the living, and remember one of the greatest shows of all time. It is The One Who Lives. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead and/or the spin-offs, I want to read your thoughts and start a discussion in the comments below. This has been 3PC, Past, Present, Pop Culture. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.